What's going on, guys? Teen Mechanic here. So as you can see, I'm wearing a t-shirt today, which means that it's 12 degrees. So I don't know if any of you live in Canada, which I know some of you do, then you know what 12 degrees means coming out of winter in February. It's now March, I don't know what day, I think it's maybe March 12th, if I had to guess, ironically. But it's 12 degrees today, so it's really nice weather to start really working on this car. So in this video, we're actually going to be detailing this car. Although inside it may not look like a detail will do all that much, given the seats being in the condition that they are, I think a detail will actually make a noticeable difference. I was sitting in there the other day, and I ran my finger across the dash just to see if that was dust, and sure enough it was, and it left a black panel underneath. I thought that they were just worn with dust kind of settling and then sinking right into the pores, but no, it'll actually clean off. So we're going to see if we can get it all looking actually good. But before we actually get into all that, I actually just want to go ahead and talk about a quick update here, give you guys an update. So if you didn't know, if you can't see over there, my truck isn't in the driveway. That's because it's not my truck. I sold it, and I think I got a pretty good price for it, although there's a long story with that sale of the truck. It's not incredibly long, but maybe I'll release a video in the near future, maybe just to take a break from this Monaco stuff. But it is a bit of a story. The guy bought it. It was a little interesting, and then there was some issue, and then the guy may or may not have wanted me to take it back, but that's a whole different story. Other than that, this Monaco, I have disconnected that amplifier since the last video. When it's running, there's an issue with it now. When it's running, and this is not my install. It's not my fault, but as you saw when I installed the radio, I tapped into that purple wire. Turns out that when you turn on the turn signal, because it was coming out of the turn signal stock, the voltage would fluctuate, meaning that must have been a turn signal wire. So I went ahead, I took off the posi tap, I made sure it was all connected and well secured, so the turn signals worked. So I found another auxiliary power wire underneath the dash, and it was red, and I checked it. It was when it was off, when the key was in the ignition, it was 0, and when you turn it backwards or in the run position, it was 12 volts. So I went ahead and I tapped into that one, and the radio was working just as I expected. And then I turned on the turn signal to check and see if it actually fixed it, and it didn't. So for some reason, the voltage would fluctuate in that. So I thought, well, what are the chances? This has to be some kind of other issue. So I went ahead, I took it off of that thing. I didn't cut that one that time. I actually just used a posi tap. But what I did do is I took it off and I found another wire, but instead of just finding one and testing each one with a multimeter, I used the one that was actually already connected to the radio. So I tapped into the radio power wiring harness, and it worked. And I turned on the turn signal, nothing fluctuated, it worked all perfectly. I tried the headlights, I tried the wipers, and everything worked. So as you know, this thing has a brand new, well, not brand new, it's a remanufactured, but it's still a new alternator in this car. So the old one wasn't charging the battery at all. This battery's kind of weak, and I guarantee you 110% that it's not going to start right now. But the alternator is new, and it should be charging the battery. It's at least 13 volts. But I had the radio on. That's why I disconnected the amp, because I tested the battery while it was running with the multimeter, and it was only charging at 11.4 volts, and I thought, oh man, like what's that? And the alternator is charging, because I know that like if it's not, it would die, because that battery can't hold its own. But it's interesting because it's actually not charging enough at all. So I wonder if that radio is drawing a lot of energy. I'll try disconnecting it and seeing if that actually changes anything, but I'm not sure that it will. But the craziest part is after it was idling for 10 minutes just to see if it would charge up, just to see if it would kind of, I don't know, work. I'm not sure what I wanted to start working or not, but just to see if anything would change. So I let it idle for about 10 minutes. And I was sitting in the car for the last bit of it. I was sitting in the car for quite a bit of it, and I actually noticed that the radio had shut off and rebooted all by its own. And that's what would happen if you turned on the turn signal. It would go off and then say welcome, and then go off and say welcome. Every time it would flash. So it just went off, and then it said welcome back, like it turned on. And then that was very strange. I hadn't done anything. So I turned on the turn signal just to check. Same issue. And this is the radio power harness. Same issue. It just would fluctuate. And then I'd turn on the wipers, same thing, headlights. So I think that we have some electrical gremlins, maybe a charging issue in this car. I'm very eager to see what that is. That's a whole nother video to go through the wiring system in this car. It does only have 76 or 78,000 original kilometers, not miles. And it's interesting because the wiring in this car is unmolested. It's not changed. There's nothing wrong with it, and there's no cuts other than that stupid one I made in that purple wire. But nonetheless, I'd like to figure out what it is because I don't want to be driving around in a car that a radio shuts off and reboots on in 10 minutes. But nonetheless, guys, that was a long ramble, so if you want to get into detailing this car, stick around because we're going to go ahead and do that right now. We'll see what kind of difference we can make on this car. Alright guys, so as you can see from these shots here, the dash is actually pretty darn nasty. There's lots of drips going all the way down the entire thing. Inside every crack and crevice in this dash, there's dust and gunk and unnamed substances that I could not tell you what they are. And there's a nice thick layer of dust inside every vent, which is these two only. On every single gauge in the instrument panel, there's a nice thick coat of dust on the entire thing. And on the plastics themselves and every single warning light, there's a thick coat of dust that actually camouflages the color to gray. Moving down to the radio, there's tons of dust just clogged into every single knob and button that there is. It's also hidden inside the bezel of the preset dial. So guys, I think you get my point on how dirty this entire interior is. If you look at things like the grip over there too, it's just nasty filled. And we're going to go ahead and see if we can clean all of that up. You might not have realized just how bad this interior was until I put it into that montage. Even the pedals are dirty, obviously, so we'll go ahead and clean even those. I already tried giving the floor mats a clean, and those are not going to change color. The original colors actually underneath, they used to be blue. Not anymore. That's okay, they're not original to the car, so it's no big deal for me. But the other thing is this dash pad, we won't be able to fix that. And I'm not going to do anything with the carpets in this video, just trim, because the carpets are an entirely different concept. I have a bunch of carpet cleaning stuff, but I just don't feel like doing it in this video. I'm kind of on a time crunch, so we're going to do all the trims and stuff like that, but we're going to leave the floor alone. Alright guys, so I went ahead and disconnected the battery so we can leave the doors hanging open and it won't drain. But this is my hilarious and ridiculous cart of garbage. This is my my trolley that I have a bunch of cleaning stuff on. Some of it isn't even cleaning stuff and some of it isn't even for cars, but it is full of probably everything that I'm going to need to be detailing just the trim. This here's a box of the cheapest detailing brushes I could find. Now, detailing brush is just one of these things. Now, it's wrapped in plastic here, but this is just going to be a brush that we can rub inside vents and stuff like that to get the dust and dirt off of little cracks and stuff like that. They're very cheap. But they work okay and they're very fine, so they're not going to be scratching any of our plastic. I have some trim cleaner in here somewhere. Oh, here it is. It's just turtle wax, dash, and glass. The one thing I don't recommend doing is using things like Armor All, and like this is for glass, but one that's for dash and plastics and stuff like that, and then getting it all, and one that has tons of grease in it and getting everything greasy, and if it sits in the sun, it just puts a slime coating on your hand. Make sure that you get really good, not greasy, water-based usually cleaners. They're usually good. Chemical Guys has a lot of really good stuff, among other brands. Turtle Wax is okay too, but I'm just really just cleaning this up here. I'm not going to be coating it with any special protections. There are a lot better detailing videos out there. I'm not showing you how to. I'm showing you how I detail this car. Alright guys, so I'm most eager to see if that spot will clean it up right there. You can't really see it all that great, but I'm going to try to zoom in as much as I can. Anyway, my mic is not on me, it's on the camera, so you might not be able to hear me all that great, but I'm going to go ahead and just see if I can get it off. What I'm using is this Chemical Guys Silk and Shine stuff. I'm going to try this first, and if it becomes too silky and shiny, I'm going to just use this Turtle Wax, which is completely grease and silk free. But anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and try this out right now and we'll see what happens. Alright guys, another thing I forgot to tell you, if you can hear me, is microfiber towels. You need lots and lots of those. it's cleaned off, but it's definitely still marked permanently. Alrighty then, guys, so I got it off, but it's still marked for sure. But anyway, that is what I'm going to be doing pretty much for the entire dash. So I'm going to just go ahead and do the entire dash right now. It's also worth mentioning that I sprayed the cleaner right onto there. You don't actually want to do that. You want to spray it into the brush and then brush it onto the trim just so you don't get it on the glass and stuff like that. But now I'm going to go ahead and do the rest of the dash. Guys, I actually think that looks considerably better. You can't really see because of the sun, but I think that looks much better. You can't really see it, but it's just so much better. I'm going to go ahead and clean the other side now. My favorite part, all the gauge lenses and all that stuff. I'm going to be using this on the lenses and a fresh microfiber towel. I'm not going to be scratching those lenses up. I'm going to try my best. We'll see. Alright guys, I'm actually also interested to see what we can do to this area here because it's very filthy and dirty. Not sure what that gunk is. Looks kind of like adhesive or gum or who knows what. This here is a dummy vent, but we're going to go ahead and see how good we can make this look. Alright, I actually think that looks pretty good. I think it came out pretty good, as you can see from the before and after pictures. I think like this is the era of cars when they actually start to clean up nicely. Like I think it looks pretty good. Now we just have to do that to the rest of the plastic. It is just insanely dirty, but you know what? I'm happy with it. I think it looks pretty good. Yeah, I don't have any complaints. The one thing is this here, but I could probably just use some Goo Gone or even just dish soap and rub it on there and try and get that off. I'm not too worried about it though. What I do want to try and get off is the air freshener that's in the middle of the steering wheel here, but that's in the middle of the gauge cluster here, but we'll see. It's attached on a magnet, but anyway, I'll go ahead and do that right now. Alright guys, check out that gauge cluster. Look at just how shiny and beautiful that looks. This has turned out amazing. As you can see, it says unleaded fuel only right there, and it didn't before. That's because there was this little black strip covering it. I'm not sure if that was from the factory or not. Either way, I wasn't sure if I should pull it off or not. I know that the police cars said unleaded fuel only. I think it's cool, so I'm leaving it like that. I like it like that. As you can see, I got that air freshener off. It's right there. I got the magnet off. It was attached on a magnet. I'm not sure if that was from the factory. I know it wasn't. But anyway, it looks better without it. So much better. Now I'm gonna try and get the gunk off over there. But now, this is kind of what it looked like before, full of dust and garbage and grit. And that's what it looks like now. Just what a difference. Anyway, now we'll go ahead and do that one. All right, dirtiest gauges of them all. Let's give them a shot. So if you notice, I actually didn't scratch either of those lenses, and this is how I avoided it. I'm using the brush along the outside bezel on the inside here, just to make sure that all the dust is off. Then I do give it a little bit of a, just to make sure the dust is nice and loose. I don't dab it because that could scratch it. Then I take a microfiber towel that's nice and fresh. I go ahead and I wipe every plastic down here. Now, how do we dry off the gauges? What I did is I took a nice smooth part of the microfiber towel and I dabbed it in there. Made sure it was nice and soft. No up and down and no swirls. No side to side either. Let the towel do the work. And I suppose once they're mostly dry and once the dust is absorbed into the towel, you can kind of go like that. Dust it off like that, very lightly, just to kind of get the smear marks off. Now, it's crystal clear. Now we're going to do the same thing to the other one. Alright guys, gauges are crystal clear. All the trim is nice and black, or wood color, depending on which trim you're looking at. There's no shiny spots, there's no slippery spots. Everything is nice and uniform. Now what I'm going to do is go ahead and clean underneath up here. and then we'll clean below there, and then that's pretty much it. We'll clean the certain parts of the vinyl on the doors and on the steering wheel, and then we'll be done. All right, guys, so for this right here, as you can see, this door panel is just absolutely disgusting, and this here is just looks absolutely terrible. So the way I'm going to clean this is I'm going to spray some Silk and Shine on the panel. Going to use this to rub it in there. Going to spray a little more and then rub it with the microfiber towel. I have to be careful because this is very brittle and this is just going to crack more. But I think that we can make this door panel go from really terrible to really nice. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. I'm also going to spray some, I don't know, maybe some silicone blankety blank WD-40 stuff on this weather stripping, just to make sure it's nice and damp. The interior is completely done. That looks so much better. It's not even comparable. So now I'm going to go ahead and move on to the door panels. So I guess that means it's a little bit of a change of plans, because I thought I had to buff this off, but I used the brush and all that gunk just kind of came right off. So I'm going to go ahead and continue on what I'm doing, and hopefully it looks really nice when it's done. Another thing to mention there is don't put a protectant or really silky, shiny cleaner on stuff that you touch all the time, like the steering wheel, the gear shift, the pedals. This is okay because it's not safety related, but because if you do that and it's slippery and you're operating the vehicle, that's a bad thing to do. I've experienced it before on a brake pedal, and your foot can slip right off the pedal and you can get in an accident. But in other news, this is pretty much done, I think. So now I'm going to do the rest of the panel, then we'll move to the pedals. Maybe I'll do the other panel too, but off camera. And I think we're going to be done. Alright guys, well I think that's where I'm going to call it quits. This video was very short, sweet, and to the point. I got a lot of the trim cleaned up inside. It looks a lot better than it did before. Trust me, it's just so much different. But anyway, if you enjoyed the video, give it a like. If you didn't, give it a dislike, but let me know in the comment section below how I can improve. And other than that, thanks for watching. Share it with someone who you think might also find this useful or enjoy it. Yeah, I think we've still got quite a long way to go on this car. But stay tuned, because it's gonna be pretty cool. But again, thanks for watching. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.